Everyone. So one of the problems with the no-code platforms like Make and n8n and even Zapier to a certain degree, they struggle from working with changes made to a Google Calendar. What happens is there's no instant trigger. You have to use those tools to basically pull the Google Calendar API on a regular interval and then look for changes that have been made since the last time that it pulled. And that has all sorts of problems with it. It doesn't really allow you to instantly kick off a workflow. If a change is made, you then have to make all these different changes to your sequences to accommodate what happens if you get a bunch of different changes that were made since the last time you polled. It's kind of been a nightmare for me to help my clients work through automations that integrate with their calendar. So I've come up with a solution thanks to my good pal, my coding buddy, ChatGPT. We've co-created this thing where we can actually have a service running on the Google Cloud that will, every time a change is made to a specific calendar, a webhook gets triggered, and it's basically told like what the event ID is for the event, and then what happened to it. So either it was created, it was deleted, or it was modified. And those two data points really give me everything I need to kick off the rest of my automation, and it works really flawlessly. I've been using it for a couple months now. I've been kind of keeping it kind of in like beta while I got it all the kinks worked out, and I feel like it's ready to release it to the public. Again, this is not very complicated. This is like a pretty simple script and a pretty simple service. Nothing about this is overly complex, but it's very high value. So this document is put together. This is in the description of the video. You can get access to this. It walks through it step by step. If you don't want to listen to me talk for the next 20 minutes and demo and walk through it, you don't need to watch this. You can just go get this and follow it step by step. It should be pretty easy to follow. First thing you need is this download link that has the 2 files in it. Those are the only 2 files that we need, other than one that you'll create during the setup process. And we can get this running in probably about 20 minutes or so. So let's dive right in. All right, so the first thing we have to do is we have to set up your Google Cloud project. This involves going into the Google Cloud, creating an account here. If you don't have an account, you can create one. Make sure you also create a billing profile on here as well, so that when you do create your first project, you can attach the billing. When you first sign up for the cloud, they give you like $300 in credits, and honestly, I think I've used like $4 in credits in like the past few months. I do a lot of different things with it, and it feels pretty cost effective. But either way, let's create a project. Create a new project. I'm going to call this Calendar Watcher Demo. I'm going to create. This takes a few seconds here, and after it creates, we're going to select it. Select project. Okay, so now we're in here. We need a couple things here. We are going to need to keep this this ID. So if you have like as I've been doing this, I always keep Notepad open and kind of have a scratch pad of different things, so I don't have to be copying and pasting too much. But I'm going to have this Calendar Watcher Demo 451320. Okay, so we got that. The next thing that we want to do here, let's go back to the instructions. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a cloud storage bucket. Perfect. So we go over here, we go cloud storage, we go to buckets. I'm going to create bucket. I like just calling it the project ID with -cache. I think that is nice and easy to remember. I think everything here is pretty good. Continue. And then the only thing we have to uncheck is this box here. This will actually allow public access to the bucket. You might be able to add some type of controls to this if you wanted to, ask ChatGPT how to modify this. But this is what works for me. So this is how I don't have really any security on this. So let's see, and then that's all good, and we can create. So now we have the bucket created, and what's next? What's next is enabling the required APIs. All right, so in order for this to work, we have to enable a bunch of APIs. I realized that once you kind of get into the project, if you go to deploy it, and it needs certain services that aren't enabled, it'll ask you just if you want to enable them as you go, and you can just click yes, but I would just like to do it ahead of time. go to APIs and services, and then library. And let's see if I can remember them all. The first one is the Google Calendar API. Enable. Library. Cloud Build API. Function API, functions, plural, and admin, functions, scheduler, that's the one I'm missing. Scheduler, enable. So this should give us all the different APIs that we'll be using throughout this project. As you create some of these, you're going to get this warning to say that you may need credentials. Don't worry about this now. We're going to add those in the next step. Speaking of which, I think we're at the next step. All right, so we're going to make a service account that all of these APIs will use. You do that by going up here. You go to IAM. You go to service accounts. And you can create a service account. We're going to call this one Calendar Watcher Service Account SA, and we're going to create, continue. This needs one role. I forgot what it's called. What is the role that it needs? Storage Object Admin. So you can just type in Storage Object Admin. That's this one. That's the one that it needs. Continue. Nothing here. Now we will need the service account email address. So I think it's, which one is it? It's this one right here. So this one we just made, we're going to need this. I'm going to copy this to the clipboard, although I'll probably need to come back and grab it at some point. But we will need that address. I'm going to click in here as well and get the key. So this is what we need to. We need to create a JSON file. So we go add key under keys, create new key, JSON, and now it downloads it. So we're going to have to rename this at some point, but for right now it's fine. And now we can get into the code. Let's go to we're going to type in Cloud Shell editor. And this is actually where you manage the files for the project. Let's get the Cloud Shell machine up and running though. This will take a few seconds. All right, close out of this default welcome screen that opens up and see I have if you had other projects that were already here, you'd see like directories of all the different projects that you have. But because we're starting off from scratch, I don't have anything. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I have two different. There's actually instructions on how to do it through the terminal in here. So I'm gonna copy this code right here and do it via the terminal. I think that works best for me. So I'm going to go in here and go to Open Terminal, and now I can paste this in here. And now what that did is actually made a directory. So it made a directory and then changed into that directory. So now you can see in the blue here, I'm in this directory now. When I go back to the editor, I see I have now this folder. Okay. And what I can do now is I can actually drag. I think I can drag. I have main py and requirements.txt. I can drag those right into the folder. And now those files are here. Requirements.txt, you don't have to change this. But the main.py you do. There's this red text is everything that has to be changed up at the top here. The webhook needs to be the webhook of the make.com webhook. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you have some interest in no-code platforms and you already know what a webhook is. So I'm going to go into this demo workflow that I created and grab this address. Paste that in there. The email address that I'm going to use is going to be Kachanga LLC, which is my business name, kachanga.llc@gmail.com. We're going to leave function alone for now. What has to happen is we have to deploy this, get the URL that it's going to be live at, and then go back into the code, update the code with the URL that it will be live at, and then redeploy it. There are probably other ways to do this, but it's the easiest way that I know how to do it. If anybody has a recommendation for a clean way to do it, I'm all ears. But for right now, that's that. And then I need that bucket name. The bucket was the ID, which is this. I told you I was going to have to go back and recopy that service account address, didn't I? But we go in here and we say bucket name is that cache. And then now we need this service account. This is what that file needs to be renamed to, the one that we downloaded. So I'm going to do this. I'm actually just going to make a file. Well, I'll drag it in. I'm going to rename this to that. Drag it over here. Okay. And now I have my service account JSON file in here as well. And I can go back to the terminal now that I have everything all set. And we're going to do our first deployment of this. And I can grab the code from over here. Actually, before we do that, I skipped ahead. I'm going to go share the, you basically have to share the Google Calendar with the service account so that the service account can access it and do these triggers based off of it. So what we'll do is we'll go back and we'll find that service account email address again. It's not hard to get to. It's just, let's see, it's right here. Okay, now we're going to go over to the calendar it's in question. Go up to settings, go down to the calendar, go to shared with, and then you have the people that it's shared with. I have an old one that's in here that I'm going to get rid of, but for right now I'm going to put the new one in here. That's this. I'm going to press send, and then now I've shared this calendar that's configured in there with this service account, so now it can work. Now that that's all set, I can go back to here. Let's go back to, now I can deploy it. So what you have to do here is you actually have to put in the project ID in here, which I don't want to copy over yet. So, and the project ID is up here, so it's calendar watcher demo 451320, and then let's see, I think that's everything. Press enter. Press authorize. So here's where it's telling me that there's an API that we needed. I think it's run, that we didn't turn on when we first did it. So it's asking if you want to turn it on now. I'll say yes. All right, there we go. It's finished. And then here is the URL of that service. So we can just click on it and it should just say okay. If it does, we're in good shape. Perfect. Okay. And now we're going to take this URL, copy it, go back into the editor. Back in the editor, there we go. And then we're going to put that URL here. And then go back to the terminal, and we are going to redeploy that same exact thing that we just did. So let's see, grab the code. Okay. Do this one more time. Okay. There we go. Now that we have that running, now we can deploy the second part of it, which is the renewal code. So there's this uses two different pieces. There's the actual service that's running, that's calling the webhooks, but that service only has permission for something like 7 days every time you authorize it, and then it needs to be reauthorized. So the second function is what renews that to keep it, and that's what we schedule to run every, I think it's like 10 minutes, and then it just keeps that fresh so that it never expires, and it can just run forever. So now what we want to do is deploy the watcher function. So that's this one here, renew watch. So calendar watcher demo 45132. All right, now that one finished, and now the same thing, we can click on this link and we should get a status saying, oh, error. Why did this error? Let's see. Invalid bucket name. B calendar watcher demo cache. So if you're watching along at home, you might have watched me type that typo and caught it and were yelling at me through the screen, and I didn't see it. So let's go back to the code. Probably typed my bucket name wrong. B calendar. There we go. Okay. Now because of that, now I have to go and I have to redeploy all of it. So that's frustrating, but this is the way it works sometimes, isn't it? Okay. Next one. All right, there we go. It finished. I'm going to click Renew Watch. All right, I'm going to splice this in. I finished the video and then forgot an important step. So I'm going to hopefully edit my video to put this in the right spot. But one thing we have to do before we're done is we have to actually schedule the renewal to happen. So let's go to up here and we're going to do Cloud Scheduler. It's this one. And we're going to do create job. You can really give this any name, but let's see. Scheduler. Call it renew calendar watch. Region doesn't matter. And then the frequency, this is like Unix cron format. Do that. Put that in. This is every 10 minutes. You could probably adjust this, but it said, I don't know, it says this needs to be in minutes. I'm not sure if this could be like every hour or what, or every couple of days. I don't know. I'm going to leave it at 10 minutes. It's not hurt anything. Pick time zone. Continue. Target type is HTTP. And then the URL is the URL of that. Oh, I lost it. Oh, bummer. Well, I'm not gonna do it. But the URL is the URL that was in the last line when we deployed the renew code. It was that second thing that we deployed. There's a URL that returned that result. That's what would go in this URL. You put that there. You leave post alone. You leave everything else alone. You press create, and then you're done. So hopefully that clears up any confusion around that piece of it, and now we're done. And I should get success true at the end. Perfect. All right, so now everything is working the way that it should be, and now we can test it. So I'm going to go back to make. I'm going to run my, have it start listening. I'm going to go over to my calendar. I'm going to make a new event. I'm actually going to do what the workflow is supposed to do, which is add drive time before an event if I type a certain thing after it. So DT30 should add a second event 30 minutes prior, and then change in a new color. So that's how this automation is supposed to work. Let's see if it does it. We press save, come back. Let's see if it kicks off. It did. And there we go. So let's see, we'll come back here. I might not have the rest of this configured properly, but you saw that it triggered. So if we zoom in here, you can see that it created a new event, and this is that ID. And then I can go into like a calendar module, look at that calendar, pull up that ID, and this is, I think, actually getting an event. So now I'm getting all the details of this event that I can then use in the rest of my workflow. So there it is. It's working. I made one mistake as I was going through it, but it was easier to recover from. And I think this is pretty solid. The only thing that I think that it's kind of missing that would make this a lot better is if it did have the full permissions, right? Where there's an unauthenticated bucket that has some cached events in it that expire after 7 days. Again, I don't have anything very special in there. I don't really care who accesses it. I've been doing this long enough where I realize that if you expect privacy, you're probably just fooling yourself. But either way, I think that this should work pretty well. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm really not able to probably support this too much and probably answer some questions here and there. But it is what it is. Hopefully this helps you in your own endeavors. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks so much.